Hello. Hello. Sorry about that sound balance on that one. That was first run of that. I did use AI. I hate to do stuff like that, but I mean if an actual person did that little intro, it would be better. But anyway, I let me know what you think of it when you catch it. Um hi. Hi. It's been a week. It was a long week. So it wasn't really that long a week, but given my day job, the end of the month and beginning of the month on a Thursday, Friday is always kind of a whirlwind. And on top of that, we have added to the family at the household. A teeny tiny itty bitty kitty has came home yesterday to join us. The dog is like okay with it. She's not sure why I would do something like that, but she's all right with it. And the cat is very quickly learning how to take over the entire house, as cats do. So all in all, it's been pretty good, but it means that it was a wild end of the week and start of the next. It's just everything is just kind of all happening at once. So it was a little wild and crazy, and then I looked at the, fire hose of news, and I there's too much. There's too much. I went through the whole not the whole list, but I went through a bunch of the list with, uh, my best friend the other night. I was like, I mean, nothing is good about that. So I decided I wanted to focus not so much on heavy stuff because we need a little break. Because if we're always terrified, if we're always what is it I always say? You have to put your oxygen mask on first. You have to take care of yourself first before you can keep doing stuff. So if we want to stay in the fight, if we want to keep fighting for things that are good and right and all that in the world, we have to take time to breathe and take time to take care of ourselves, or we can't do that. So, on the list for tonight is we are. Whoa, sorry, I did something to myself on my end. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? We are going to talk about the T app situation. For those of you that do not know, the T app is one that it was an app that in theory was designed for women to sort of to report their exes or people who had perpetrated SA and DV against them and that kind of thing. Um, you can see just from that little bit where the problems might arise, and then they had a data breach. And the news reporting has been more glossing over than some of what is in the actual lawsuits. So, in the description of this video, linked below, is Lawn Lumber's Friday Night Frenzy from Friday night. Rob and Ian Ronkel cover the actual documents of the lawsuit, which you know I love, which I am not an attorney, so I couldn't find. So I direct you to their reading and commentary on those because um, it's worth it. It's worth actually listening to what the allegations are because, wow, I will give you some highlights, but truly, go check out Lawn Lumber Friday Night Frenzy, that section of it, if at the very least, because there's a lot in those lawsuits. So, um, we have that on the list, and then we're going to chat just a little bit about that Sidney Sweeny jeans ad. And it took a while for me to find the one that caused the majority of the kerfuffle, but I did find it. So, that's what we're gonna be talking about this evening. We're gonna keep it a little bit light-ish. I mean, the T-app thing, it's not light. It's very heavy, but class action lawsuit has been started, and we're we're just gonna talk about that because it is a discussion worth having, but it's not, nuclear war. And are we going there? So, that's what we're going to do this evening. I'm going to roll the intro while I'm doing that. Let me know where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on this evening. Let me, hopefully you are safe. I understand that Canada is basically on fire, so hopefully everybody there is safe. If you are not, as always, replay is always available here. So, speaking of replay crew, thank you for joining. If you like hanging out with us and you can't make it to the lives, that's okay. That's okay. We appreciate having you here. The views are great. And, click that like button, do the subscribe, and share it with your friends if you think your friends would like to join our community, because that would be wonderful too. So, with all of that, let me go ahead and they moved the intro again. I found it. Okay, intro. Let's roll. Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Tea, a show where we say all the things you wish the newscasters said, unscripted and unfiltered. We talk about politics, pop culture, and courts, so pull up your soapbox, pour yourself a cuppa, and let's go. Let's go. Tonight is very much a soapbox night. Do you have your soapbox at the ready? I have mine at the ready. I think we're going to need it. So, for those of you who do not know, and I can pull up some articles, but I didn't because there's like 8 million of them, and I took a look at a lot of the reporting. But there was this app called T. Well, of course I'm interested because T. Um, and the funny thing about all of this is I had heard about it. I think between the data breach and the filing of the lawsuit, and all I was getting, oh, whoops. Right. My mother being my voice. Good luck, Mom. I think if are we gonna talk through tech? Of course we are. I think if you just clicked on the YouTube app, it auto directs you to me. But you might need to sign out of you might need to sign out on the website, but if you go to Safari, it should be good and you should be able to sign in as you because I try not to mess with it on Safari. Tech is fun. Tech is fun. You know what? That warrants the squirrel. That warrants the squirrel. Because I like having little videos for things like, when we go down random rabbit holes like that. Anyway, so this app, I had heard about it and was reading about it in between these two things, and I came this close to signing up for it. Now, I don't know as I would have once I found out what they were requiring of the women to sign up for this app. So, okay, in theory, on its best level, what was it marketed as? It was marketed as an app to keep women safe by being able to report men that had done bad things to them. Now, if you are like me, that sentence had a lot that would lead to things potentially going very, very wrong. Am I right? Because, well, first of all, it's really heteronormative, right? Like, um, that leaves no room for bisexual people. It doesn't leave room for same-sex pairings. It doesn't and let's be real. Violence can happen. I don't care. It's not are the numbers skewed in one way or another? Yes, the numbers are skewed in one way or another, but I would think that by now we would have learned between, Sherry Papini and Amber Heard, and a wealth of others that maybe, just maybe, women are perpetrators as well. So the first issue I had with it was that I wasn't hearing a whole lot of, well, that was the first issue that I had with it, was that it was very heteronormative, and I'm like, "There's a lot of room for error here," and the second thing is, okay, but what if you end up with somebody who is like an Amber Heard going on that site? That's not gonna help anything, and it's really just gonna be gossip, right? Um Yeah, dad says, "They say technology can be your friend. We've never quite believed it." Perfect intro for an app security breach topic. Yes. Um, and then the other thing, so I'm just doing a random Google search here because I need to be able to pull this up, but I mean, okay, you have to see, let me see if I can pull this up. You have to see the founder of, hit the wrong button, don't mind me. The founder of this app, who claimed a lot of stuff that he did not follow through on. Um, there. Yeah, so I just ran a Google search and it's this guy. It's this guy. I mean, I've never seen a headshot that looked, if you told me that was from a Stephen King movie, I would probably believe you. I'm not saying he is of that, but I am, it's his whole shtick that I was able to get a hold of was basically that his mom was on these dating apps and the things the guys were saying to her and all of that, and she wasn't really comfortable on the dating apps anymore. And so he wanted to create an app where women could share their bad experiences so that, dating could be easier again. Well, that's fine, but in none of the things I was able to find, did I find a whole lot of women in the C-suite of the foundation of this app, supposedly specifically for women. And that's a problem for me because already, so now the problems are already stacking up. What led to this debacle, you ask? Well, according to the lawsuit, the second class action lawsuit, which was really quite well written in my own personal opinion, we find out that in order for the notion was that women had to be verified so that they knew that they were legitimate women, because that is a problem on dating apps, I know, but also what they were asking these women to provide are address, date of birth, an image of their driver's license. Okay, I'm going to pause for one thing. When that I would have noped right out of that, especially in an app like this. Because if that gets hacked, they claimed they were gonna delete that information, but they didn't. And not only did they not delete the information, but according to the allegations, they left it in a Google, it's a specific Google name that I cannot remember right now. Um, basically a data holding storage. Now, according to anyone with any tech knowledge in the chat on Friday, that I will trust on that one, and in the lawsuit, the lawsuit lays it out as having a ridiculous low level of security, like no security. The lawsuit, the quote of gold in that lawsuit was that where these where sorry, my brain interrupted itself. Where these files of extremely sensitive information were held was in, and now I'm quoting the lawsuit, um, was was in this Google thing that was so open, they compared it to a bank leaving the door open on a bank vault with a neon sign flashing above it saying "free money." So, of course, what happens? 4chan gets wind of this website, and these are mostly dudes who are pretty good at some basic hacking, and according to the lawsuits, no one needed to hack anything. The deeper we went into the lawsuit, I ended up putting in chat, it's harder for me to get into my own email than it was for these guys to gather all of this information. Now, I'm not saying every single person told the truth as far as their anonymous things on the website and stuff like that, but according to this lawsuit, basically some dude bros from 4chan went, "Oh, thanks for that," got the information, the kind of information everyone and their brother tells you not to give out, because really, you and the government should be the only two entities that have all of that information in one place, but this app had it all. And the dude bros from 4chan got a hold of it, and then I believe it was said in the website that the way the information was then copied and disseminated, the women involved, the women whose information just got stolen, they're never getting that information back. It can't be clawed back from the internet from where it is now. So, why is this such a big freaking deal? Because people went on and reported some pretty serious things like assault and DV. And now their information is not only out there, but because of how it seems the app stored metadata of everything, it didn't take long for people to put the anonymous post with the actual person. That's a problem if you have told the truth about DV, because what it means is it means that your abuser can find you in 2.7 seconds. And my issue, like my big issue with how this has all gone down, is there's been no PR really. There's been nothing. They say they fixed the problem, but can you really trust that they fixed the problem if they already told you that they deleted it and then you find out that they didn't? Also, I there had to have been a different way to verify this. You don't need driver's licenses, and that information, that is the sort of information that Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos would kill to get. Like, this dude came into I'm sorry, we're just gonna curse all night tonight. We're starting the swearing early, so watch your delicate ears. But this guy had a fuck ton of super sensitive information, and it is now scattered to the winds of the internet. This is maybe the only class action lawsuit that I've seen filed where the attorneys that have covered it were like, it's pretty easy to tell who the class is here. That doesn't seem to be an easy thing sometimes when you're trying to determine, is it a class action? Like, nope, it's a class action and here's the class. So, there is another part of this conversation that I do want to have with you guys, which is, on the one hand, an app like this not requiring that level of information, that's a problem. But I think, given the laws the way they are, that on the one hand, something like this could be useful. 'Cause if you're getting out there and you're trying to check it out, it's kind of helpful to be able to check things out, right? But the problem is, like on Yelp, um, the people who often are the loudest aren't always the most honest, if that makes a lot of sense. And it's like back when I was in retail, right? You always worried about not the positive reviews. Positive reviews are great, but really happy customers tell maybe one or two people. Really unhappy customers, this statistic is FYI about 20 years out of date, but really unhappy customers on average will tell 15 people. So when you're dealing with dating and you're basically rating human beings, you can't tell me that's not going to be a problem because, again, I'm going to use Amber Heard as an example because she's kind of a perfect example for this. If that app had existed, she would have gone on it and left some comments, even though even though it was projection, right? It wasn't necessarily things that were being done to her, happening to her. And so that's always the problem that you run into, right? It's the same thing as the crazy ex-girlfriend. Well, sometimes they are and sometimes they're not. And also, how do you make an app like that that supposedly is there to protect women, but what does that do for the same-sex couples and the bisexual folks out there who date men and women and things like that? I mean, yes, Leah says verification should be done through via social media, not driver's licenses. I agree. I mean, if I can create a whole account on a whole lot of things by going use my Apple, use my Facebook, use my Google, if you need two-step verification, you can do two-step verification. But driver's licenses, and they were saying that people were like that the images that these guys had women, like, holding the driver's licenses next to their face. I What? I can think of a whole lot of things that are a lot more secure that you don't need that level of information for. So I have a lot of questions as to why they thought that was necessary because it feels very data miney like. The vibes are bad. The vibes are bad. The vibes feel like I'm doing this to protect women, and really you're doing it to just steal a whole bunch of information that nobody would turn over otherwise. Um, and yeah, so um, one one using it could agree to have social media info shared instead, such as so and so dated back other on Facebook X amount of time. That would also be good. That would also be good. I mean, I think there's ways to have this conversation because let's be real, the other side of this is that the laws suck when it comes to this stuff. Like, we have to do better with the laws. The statute of limitations is stupidly low. And yes, trust but verify. We do need ways to verify. But I believed his story, not yours, it's delicate and I get it. But we have to start having these conversations so that we can figure out ways to do better. Dad says legalistically we exist in a system that our privacy and rights are non-existent and our use on almost every platform relies on our willingness to click agree to the terms in fine print. True, but you don't have to hand Zuckerberg your driver's license or your social security number. Does he have it? Maybe. But what this dude ended up with was that. This dude ended up with the kind of stuff that he ended up with the kind of information you need to get a new government ID or to get another passport, not to sign up for Tinder. So, and that's the other problem that I have with it, because that level of verification, that's it. That's the red flag that's been bugging me this whole time. Thank you, guys. Thank you. In this conversation, it has made me go, what is that red flag that's been bugging me this whole time? You know why that verification is there? Not because he thought that too many men were going to try and bust into the app, because he made that way too freaking easy for them. No, no, that verification is there because of the number of apps where the men complain. Again, all heteronormative, but where the men complain that they think they're talking to a woman and it turns out to be another guy, or it turns out to be a bot, or it turns out not to be a real woman. So that's the other red flag that's been bothering me about this entire thing, because it was never about that. It was about making sure you were getting information from actual women, which is another problem that I have. I feel like the app itself, I was kind of ambivalent about. I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. I could see a lot of the problems right away. But the more stuff that comes out about this, the more it is a big deal. So, I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are on this. Let me know if you want to keep following this lawsuit thing, because um it's gonna be interesting. The class action suits that have been filed are gonna be interesting, and the company seems to, again, not really have a PR team. There hasn't really been, and it seems that the response has mostly just been, "Whoopsie doodle," and that's been about it, and this is too big a deal for that. Alright, Leah's saying this seems like a good one to follow, so let's follow it together, chat. I'm curious, and this, I think, is gonna be a bigger conversation too, because is this something this is the other part of this conversation, right? Do we need an app, or do we just need to do better, pay more attention, fix the laws we already have? Um, how do we make this system better, right? How do we improve it so that we catch the Harvey Weinsteins and the Bill Cosbys earlier? And how do we also catch the Amber Heards earlier too? You know, how do we make it, and I there haven't been a lot of big names in other couple relationships that I know of. Maybe I'm just missing them because I'm very pale and very straight. So there's certain things that just don't fall into my algorithm because algorithms are weird. But let's have that conversation. Let's talk about it and let me know what you think in the comments. Like, and where can we fix it? How do we fix it? Who do we contact to fix it? Because state and local laws are always different. And how do we do it while protecting everybody's rights? You know, because you can't just lock somebody up on an assumption or an allegation. Yeah, mom masquerading still is me. We need boys to be taught better. We do. We have to have better conversations with our boys and our young men. Because this is also connected to that whole male loneliness epidemic. And we have to have better conversations. We have to have conversations about consent. We have to have conversations about consent when kids are little, because there seems to be, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there seems to be this like visceral reaction to not teaching kids about consent when they're young, because as an adult, we equate consent only to intimate partner intimacy. How's that for skirting the rules of YouTube? Um, but no, we tend to just jump and hypersexualize everything once we reach a certain age, right? So we can't fathom this notion that consent for a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old is quite simply like, I don't want a hug right now, or no touchy until I've had my orange slice. Like, we have to have those conversations about consent, and we have to have it with everybody. We have to have it with all genders. We have to have it with everybody. And it can't just be, oh, he pulled your pigtails on the playground, that he did that because he liked to. I've never understood why we told kids that. I had teachers tell me that, and I'm like, "I don't think you know what like is," I mean, so it's a piece of a much bigger conversation, and do we need an app for that, or do we just need to have more conversations like this? Because I'm gonna be honest, I think we are better off having conversations than maybe yet another piece of technology that is ultimately two-dimensional and flat. I realize that's redundant, but hopefully you get what I mean. Um, and mom says, and we don't seem to be able to have sex education that is age appropriate and continuous. Yeah, which is another issue because it can be age appropriate and you can start young. And you can lean into the science, but like, the more you know, right? The more you know, the better choices you can make. If you keep information hidden, you keep choices hidden too. And it goes down a pretty wild rabbit hole, or it can go down rabbit holes of self-loathing. It can go down rabbit holes of blaming certain groups of people for your issues. It's why the red pill manosphere bro-y attitude is rampant on the internet, and it's why so many young boys and girls, but mostly boys, are gravitating to it. Because it's there, and when nobody else is talking to them, but they have Andrew Tate explaining everything as though he knows what he's talking about, it's very easy to latch on to those kinds of creators. So yeah, I think we need to have bigger conversations. I think let's do that here, chat. Let's have these bigger conversations. Let me know what in this realm you want to talk about. If you're coming in on replay, crew, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking on this. Let us continue to have these conversations, because I think this app and the data breach with it, um, I think has opened up an avenue to have these conversations. And I think we need to have these conversations not in an echo chamber, right? We need to have these conversations where the room looks like the country, not just in our own little bubble, which is, I think, look at me. I think I found the perfect segue into the Sydney Sweeny jeans ad that has the internet all abuzz. So let me go ahead and swoop. Find the right swoop. Nope, not that one. Nope, there we go. Okay. So I found the ad. I found one and I was like, wow, this is not the ad. So chat, let me know. Should we play the ad that everybody is all riled about, or has everybody seen the ad? I've seen the ad a couple times. It's been all over the news. Let me know if you want me to play the ad or not. But for those of you who do not know, there was this ad that dropped from American Eagle that Sidney Sweeny, talking about great genes, and it's a pun for great genes and great genes, Jeans versus genes, Genes. For some reason, spelling those tonight was really hard for my brain. I could write them in a heartbeat, not say them. But oh, and I forgot to. Okay, I need to add the link in the description. But if you don't already follow BMO the Prince, I will put that in chat here. If you don't already follow his comic genius, go follow this comic genius. But also, he did a parody of this ad, and it is 10 out of 10, much better. Why are we not going to look at that one on here? Because you should go look at that on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, or he's on all the platforms. So go find it on there. It was done recently. It should pop right up. It's hilarious. But yeah, you should go give him the views, and I'm not gonna swipe that. An ad, on the other hand, I'm totally gonna run that, because here's the thing. I, as established earlier, am very pale. So I am not necessarily the person that is necessarily going to immediately see the issue with this. How it affects me is very small. I'm like, ew, that my issue with this ad was not, in fact, the clear blonde hair, blue eyes is better. It's not. That's a stupid idea. I hate that idea. I've hated that idea forever. And I was also raised in a world that was consistently saying if you didn't have blue eyes, blonde hair, C cups or higher, curvy hips but no waist. I mean, or because the funny thing is, I grew up in the era of heroin chic. I grew up in an era where models just across the board had various forms of starvation based eating disorders. And yet, as somebody who looked like just a shorter version of that, as I am, simply because I have a metabolism that could power a small country, I was viewed as super gross. So it was like this weird dichotomy of hotness that was coming along when in the 90s. And I digress a little bit, but it's just beauty standards are kind of weird anyway. So when I looked at this ad, it was gross to me, but for other reasons. So, what do you say, chat? Let's just play the ad. Because I don't know how many of you have seen it, how many of you haven't seen it. So, sorry, technology and I are not going well tonight. Hang on. There. There we go. Okay. That. Share. Sure. All right. It's 15 seconds. We'll take a look at it, and then I'm going to talk about why I got the ick from this. And we can have a little chat about that. Cuz there's a whole big thing. Sidney Sweeney's been in the Oh wait, hang on.
And even eye color.
The words for this ad are kind of important. So, all right, let's try that again. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Why does it keep auto-muting it?
Passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sidney Sweeny has very
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring.
No, we don't need to hear that again. Okay. So that was the ad that caused the kerfuffle. For me, I find that the ad was icky. But see, I find it icky because for me, I I got done talking about um the era I grew up in. So for me it's icky because the choreography of the ad, how she's placed, how she looks, all of that, it is so similar to the Brooke Shields "Nothing Gets Between Me and My Calvin's" ad that she did when she was 16, which was icky for a whole 'nother set of reasons. And yeah, so okay. For me, I know the whole eugenics argument, the the Aryan crap, the whole, my genes are blue. I can understand. Here's where I'm at on that one. I can understand the outrage. I can also understand that the executives in that boardroom probably didn't pay a lot of attention to history, um, ever, and they're probably a lot younger than a lot of us here in chat, and so they probably might not even put 2 and 2 together, like, why I find it gr and icky, why it gives me the ick, and why it makes somebody else mad. Honestly, these ad execs may not be old enough to have any core memories of any of this, and they truly may not have paid attention. So I'm willing to understand that argument. I also am willing to say, but also, like, I'm white. I know my lane. If all of the black creators and well, all of the non-white creators just across the color human spectrum are having the same reaction, then probably it's just not a part of my world, but that's my indication to sit down, shut up, and go, well, I'm gonna defer to them because they've lived with this sort of bullshit for a lot longer. And it's things that somebody that looks like me isn't necessarily ever gonna see. And so I do think that getting mad at the outrage is weird. Um, I can sit down and go, "Okay, explain to me why you're big mad about this." Because, like, I get the ick, and I get that, it's like, "Yeah, my jeans are blue, and I'm blonde hair and blue-eyed." I don't I feel like it is just as possible that we are in such a heightened state of awareness of the general attitudes of anybody who is not white being as bad as they are in the country right now, that anything perpetuating that in any way, we're gonna be more sensitive to. So, where am I coming from on this? The ick factor for me has nothing to do with the gross potential racism in there. They claim it's not racist. Basically anybody that has ever been affected by racism ever in their lives seems to have a different view. And so I'm going to trust their view, not my view, because my view is very pale in notion. I try to keep my eyes open, but again, my lane isn't gonna show me certain things. Like, I'm cruising along pretty smoothly in my given lane. So, it's a bigger conversation. I have a more of a problem with the hypersexualization of the entire thing in general. And, um, mm, we're 45 minutes in, so I think maybe I won't go down that whole rabbit hole tonight. We can if you want. This is another one. If you want me to circle back next week and we can do a deeper dive in the whole Sidney Sweeny keeps popping up in controversial items that mostly have to do with objectifying her. And I feel like I am not seeing the nuanced conversation out in the world that I would like to see about that. Because I think there are problems with it. And I also think that I think there are problems with it, but I also think that maybe we are a little too sensitive about things. Like we're a little too quick to just cancel somebody because somebody said something nasty about them. We're too quick to hold certain people to a higher standard than we hold anybody else to. Um, and I think we need to do a little bit better with that, but I'm not sure that I have the brain power to go on that deep dive tonight because that does need to be a more nuanced conversation. So, all right, guys, put a 1 in the chat if we should end on the light. Well, should we end with a wee tinge of science? Or shall we just say goodnight? Put a 1 in the chat if we want to cover the humpback whale saving seals from orcas more than it seems as usual. But put a 1 in the chat if we want to do that. Put a 2 in the chat if we just want to say good night. And what I'm getting some votes for science. All right, I will swoop and we will cover the sciencey thing and we will leave on that happy little note. Okay. All right. Science, science, science. Okay. So, and I did not pull up any articles, so if you've got a good one, we can pull it up. I can try and pull it up, but I didn't find any that were like really in depth. It was mostly there's a thing that's happening and we don't know why. So apparently, Mom found an article earlier tonight that this is a thing that happens. But it seems like we're seeing it more, or science is seeing it more, or something along those lines. But humpback whales are apparently coming along and rescuing seals and sea lions. Seals and sea lions? Anyway, they're rescuing them from being eaten by orcas. Now, the article that Mom found discovered that humpback whales will actually do this frequently because they are amongst the few in the ocean where they can actually kill an orca with certain with their dorsal, was it their dorsal fin or their fluke? Um and science has been watching for a few years and just released the info. Okay, that's where it is. Thank you, Mom. So apparently, humpback whales, adult humpback whales, knowing that they're too big and able to do damage to the orcas, so the orcas won't kill them. They, I guess, frequently rescue prey, what would have been the orca's prey, from the orcas, and science doesn't know why yet. Now, in the article that Mom found, I think there is a piece of the why in there, which is that among what orcas would consider snack foods are baby humpback whales. So it does make sense to me that humpback whales would, how to put this, if they can't ever know who they're saving, I can see where if humpback whales know that one of their young might be the prey of the orca, that they're just going to save anything that might be the prey of the orca. But anyway, I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated by the knowledge because because if you know me, if you followed me for a while, you know I love my predators, right? I love my orcas, I love my wolves, I love my predators because they keep things in balance. I love my sharks. Um, but and I love some of the things like orcas after 40 years of being side by side with humans and no issues after enough of their young got stolen and moved into slave labor camps like SeaWorld. Yes, I've seen blackfish. Um, then they started capsizing boats that humans, or not capsizing, but they started attacking boats with humans because they never knew which boat was going to steal their young. So I can see where humpback whales would have the same thing, but with orcas because orcas are to them predators. Um, but anyway, that was the lighter note. So humpback whales are on this rescue mission and they're faster than orcas so they can outswim them a lot of times. So sometimes they win this little battle, sometimes they don't, but they always it seems like if they catch wind of it, they go in and try and rescue um whoever the orca has chosen to have for dinner that night. They try to rescue them. So that is your fun little National Geographic, not sponsored. But that's your fun little world science moment of the day. If we like that, if we want to keep that, let me know because I just realized I was like, oh, that's kind of like a moment of zen. If we just find one of those odd things that nature does or one of the cool things that nature does and so that we end on a happy note, maybe we should start doing that. Let me know in the comments if you want to start doing that because I might just start doing it anyway. Mom says, and the orchids are quiet until they get their prey. Then yes, they're super quiet. They're very much like people. It's very interesting. And then they scream, and that alerts the humpbacks who know that they basically can't lose by jumping in. Isn't nature wild? Isn't nature wild? There is so much. Okay, we tend to think of ourselves as humans as like knowing all the stuff. And the more we learn, the more we learn, the more we realize we don't know jack shit. Like, we are just animals amongst the rest of them. If you're offended by that, I think we need to have a little bio one-on-one again because we are basically just we are all animals and we're all just trying to live the best we can with each other. And Dad says it points out how little humans understand about the intelligent critters who also live on this wonderful planet. It's true. It is absolutely true. Um, I mean, and that's coming from somebody that is currently trying to make friends with the crows. And I will hear that, watching the crows has been really fascinating here at our house because the interactions they have, the interpersonal relationships, it's super we don't know that much. We think we do. But much like history and archaeology and all these things, so many times we come in and we're sure we know the answer only to find out years later that we were very wrong. Um, so anyway, I'm fascinated by that. I'm fascinated that humpback whales apparently can just hear what's happening and go, not on my watch, and swoop in and do what they can to save these critters. I'm immensely fascinated by it. Anyway, there's a ton of articles out there. Oh, I just hit my mic. How many chat? You know I do that at least like twice because I talk with my hands. I talk with my hands. My brain is fading. I need rest because I was up way too late last night trying to make sure that the cat was good and the dog was good. And I probably didn't need to do that, but I did. So, okay, chat. Thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week ahead. I hope your Monday is like a Friday and not like a Monday. If you know what I mean by that. I hope tomorrow is a nice smooth entry to the week. Oh, nope, I don't have my book with me. I was going to say Mercury comes out of the microwave and goes direct sometime this week. I can't remember when. So if it feels like you're, speeding down a dirt road that's bumpy, you are doing the cosmic equivalent of that as we hit reentry, and I have a feeling this is going to be a bumpy week. So anyway, brace yourselves, take deep breaths, make sure you're doing well, check in with each other. Thank you for everything. And I'm going to find the right button. And as always, chat, thank you for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Do all the YouTubey things, like, subscribe, share, all of that. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be well, do good, and as always, bark a lot. I will see you. Thanks for joining us for another episode of The Unfiltered Tea. Don't forget to hit that like button. If you have a story you want our unfiltered take on, go ahead and drop it in the comments, and we will see you next time.